Being a champion is not winning. Anybody can win in a moment. A true champion is someone who can remain resilient through it all, through the highs and the lows, and just continue on their path and refining themselves to create a new standard for themselves and leading along the way. That's exactly how I looked at bodybuilding, because frankly, I was broke. I had no money. There was even a time period where I was sleeping in my car. I was homeless. I was in my car, I would go to the gym or I'd go to work, and that was kind of my routine. I just thought to myself, if I keep going, if I commit myself to this, one day it'll pay off.
How do you switch the mindset on when you get into the gym, and what is the mindset?
I want to be the greatest. I want to be the greatest that I can possibly be. I want to know that every day I gave it my absolute everything. So if I'm suffering, good. I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to be the one doing the things that other people aren't willing to do. And I expect nothing less for myself. I will give my absolute everything. And whatever comes of it, the outcome is not in my control. But what is in my control, I'm gonna give everything to.
Welcome back to Mulligan Brothers Interviews, and we are in Tampa with Mr. Olympia, Derek Lunsford. This interview is absolutely incredible as we dive into the mindset of what it takes to be a world champion. The story starts with Derek Lunsford as a 114-pound wrestler, if you can imagine that, to becoming one of the biggest, strongest, and most formidable bodybuilders of a generation. I want to say a massive thank you to our Patreon community who make this possible. If you want to find out more about Patreon, please head to the link in the description where you can get exclusive benefits like extended interviews, new lessons, teachings, and behind the scenes look into how all of this happens, and early access to every single episode without the ads. Also, if you haven't already, please support me by subscribing and hitting the notification bell down below. I'm trying to beat my brother to 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. I know we can do it. Let's dive into the incredible story of Derek Lunsford.
The way that we usually do this is just for people who don't know, introduce yourself and what you do.
So I'm Derek Lunsford, Mr. Olympia, also 212 Olympia champion, making me the first 2-division Olympia champion, Mr. Olympia, as well as most recently Arnold Classic bodybuilding champion.
So I mean, yeah, just to get this warmed up, I think it'd be cool to talk about Marek, because they're a different type of sponsor for us in the way I'm sure they sponsor you. They do our health, they do our bloods, but we're filmmakers, so they support our projects, which is slightly different. But I'm interested to hear like how you got hooked up with Marek and what the process has been like, I guess.
Yeah, so I have a friend who works for Marek. He's a specialist. So when you want to call in and get your blood work done and work with somebody, he's someone that you can have a direct conversation with. So they have many specialists that, because they have thousands and thousands of clients, right? So for me, my friend who works there, he hit me up because he knows that blood work and making sure I'm healthy is super important to me. And so he said, hey, why don't you come through Marek? We provide the best. And I said, okay. So I took him up on it.
Yeah, and just for me, this is my first time working with somebody like who checks our bloods and the personalization of it, and like feeling like I'm actually speaking to a person versus like a service. Yeah. I don't know if that's been the same experience for you, but I feel like I've got people who are actually helping and like considerate of what I'm doing. And like me and you have completely different goals. And it feels like it's tailored to that. I don't know if that's the same kind of vibe for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different companies that want to provide similar services, but they're the top of the line. For me being the #1 bodybuilder in the world, I want to be my best, so I want to associate with the best. And if I'm able to go with Marek and have somebody there that's able to discuss my blood work and the numbers and the markers that are on there, that's very important to me. So that way I have a thorough understanding of actually where my health is versus just, here you go, here's your blood work back, and then no conversation.
Perfect. Yeah, like I say, thank you to Marek. If people wanted to find out more, there'll be a link down below. We have a strong American audience, but we also have some Brits watching this as well. What was it like? Where did you grow up, and what was it like where you grew up? How would you describe it to somebody who'd never been there before?
Well, where I come from is a small town in the Midwest USA. So I come from a small town of Indiana. There's really not a whole lot going on where I'm from. I like to think or say that I'm from the backwoods of Indiana. So country living. I think we maybe had a little over 100 people that graduated from my high school, and so there really wasn't much to do other than, hunt, fish, maybe, do some 4-wheel riding, getting dirty, making our own fun, so to speak. So there was a small gym in my hometown, and I was a very dedicated and disciplined athlete playing soccer, and most importantly to me, wrestling was my first love. And so for me, I always wanted to be extraordinary. I want to always be the best I could be at something. So when I went out for something, I gave it my all. And instead of getting into maybe not the right things, I decided to just dedicate my life to sports. And I wanted to be all I could be. So I would go to the gym and I would train, and even in high school, I would train 3 times a day. I would wake up first thing in the morning, and I would be at school before anybody was there, maybe an hour and a half before school started. And I would either run on the track, or I would swim in the pool with the swimming coach, just to put me through some cardiovascular conditioning for wrestling or soccer. And then during school, I had a weightlifting class that I combined with lunch, and I would do my weight training. And then after school, I would go to practice, let's say wrestling practice, and then I would do our 2-hour wrestling practice. And then, if we still had enough in us, me and my training partner would go to his house where he had some wrestling mats, and we would do some additional drills at the end of the night. And then we would wake up and do it again the next day. The only time we took a break from that was when we had a tournament on Saturday, and then we rested on Sunday. And then Monday through Friday, we were just all around the clock athletes.
Wow. Okay. So small town kid, where's the exposure to hard work? Like where's the idea, you're going to go into the gym and put that amount of work in, before you start doing it?
Maybe this isn't the right mindset, but I think a lot of people can relate to me, is that I felt like I was either going to make it big or I was going to be a complete loser. And that was just how I perceived myself. Not that that was the truth or the case at all, but I just felt like I'm either going to make it big and really do something extraordinary, or I'm not. I'm going to be just here in my hometown for the rest of my life, which is okay too. But I had this calling inside me that just said, you're different. And I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what it would be, because you have to think, at that time in high school, I was a 130-pound wrestler, not a big bodybuilder. I was a small kid growing up. So I never thought in a million years that bodybuilding would be the path for me. That came, in the future in college when I found bodybuilding. But I just had this drive in me that I wanted to be all that I could be. And I had a chip on my shoulder from my upbringing. I come from a divorced family where, I had people in my life telling me that you're worthless, you'll never make anything yourself, you're lazy, I'd never hire you at my job because of all this. And so I thought to myself, okay, I'll show you how great I am.
Do you remember a specific situation that stands out where somebody said, you're not gonna make it?
Yes, I do, very much. So the things that I just said have stuck with me, very clearly in my mind, from who said them and when it was said and how it was said. And so I would go to the gym and train every day thinking, I'll show you how great I am. I'm gonna show the whole world how great I am. So initially it started with this chip on my shoulder to be great at the sports that I was competing in. And then when I realized in college that wrestling would not be my future, it was an identity crisis for me, because I put my all into that. That was my identity, was wrestler Derek Lunsford, And then I thought, okay, what am I gonna do now? So I continued to go to school, I got my degree, but I wasn't really passionate about anything. The only thing I was really, truly passionate about and I was consistent with was going to the gym. It was all I loved. It's all I cared about, was just going to the gym every day. And I don't know, maybe it was to release some negative energy at that time, but I felt like in this process of trying to figure out who I am, I'm going to continue to do what I love and what I'm passionate about, and see where this takes me. And that's whenever I came across bodybuilding. I didn't even know bodybuilding was a thing. That competitive bodybuilding, the NPC, IFBB Pro League, or Mr. Olympia was even something out there that was available. And once I found that, I said, okay, like if I can discipline myself and dedicate myself to bodybuilding the same way I did wrestling, I believe I can go somewhere with this. And so I just took a leap of faith and committed right there on the spot that I'm gonna be a bodybuilder. And I remember that very clearly, that I looked myself in the mirror in my car before going in on a leg day. And I remember telling myself in the mirror, I'm gonna be a bodybuilder. I said it twice, so that I really confirmed to myself that this is what I'm committed to. And from then on out, I said, this is gonna be my life. And yeah, a lot's happened since then.
Wow, okay. So how much feedback had you received at that point? It was like, oh, you could be big in this sport. Like, was you getting a lot of that? Was it more self-belief? Like, what made you stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself that?
You know, in the very, very beginning, I don't think anybody could have truly believed in me, even the people that loved me the most, because I was so far away from where I am today that you would look at me and say that I'm crazy. You know, you're not the biggest guy in the world, right? Like you're probably 140 pounds and you have great aesthetics, you have great muscles for a 140-pound young guy, but to think that you're gonna be Mr. Olympia one day is delusional. But I love that. I love that. I always thrived off that, especially through wrestling and other sports, is that I loved to do things that other people couldn't imagine doing or didn't want to do or couldn't do. Because one, it was either too hard, or two, they just couldn't envision it for themselves. And so I just thrived off doing things that other people didn't want to do or couldn't do. And so I remember going in that day and telling everybody in the gym that I'm going to be a bodybuilder. And that again was to confirm to me that this is my commitment. I'm going to do this. I'm speaking it into existence. And I remember the look on people's faces were kind of like, oh, okay. You know, like, sure, go for it. I mean, who's going to stop you? But really, you maybe reconsider your future, you know? And like I said, that drove me, because I could feel a little bit of the doubt in people, which, like I said, drove me even more. And so fast forward to now, whenever I took third at this past year's Olympia after being the reigning champion, there was a lot of people that were doubting that I could come back. And for me, I just had to have this complete and total belief that I am resilient. I had to know this about myself, that I am someone who is resilient, who always has been resilient, who's always going to keep moving forward in the face of adversity. And so that's what gets me up every day and gets me motivated, is to just do the things that people don't want to do, aren't willing to do, who doubt me, and frankly, doing things that nobody can envision for themselves. Because I like to think that the spectator is not the visionary.
Give us context to this. When you were starting out wrestling in high school, what did you look like then? Like, what was the kid then?
When I first started wrestling in high school, I was 112 pounds. And I had to diet down to make that weight, but nonetheless, I was still 112 pounds. And I think that's where I found my ability to be disciplined, to sacrifice, to diet, to work hard, all the characteristics that it takes to be an exceptional bodybuilder, I was learning through high school wrestling and college wrestling. And so I always looked at any sport that I've done, any job that I have worked at, or anything that has come my way that's been challenging, as an opportunity to build and grow my character. And so if I can continuously refine myself, the way that I think, and the person that I am, to be better every day, then the outward appearance of being a bodybuilder is gonna follow suit. And I would like to think that that applies to anything in life, business, or anything that anybody is doing. So if I took a job, it was because I said, okay, this is going to lead me in the direction I'd like to go. I'd like to work at a supplement store because I want to learn more about supplements and I want to learn more about diet and nutrition and have conversations with people about this so that I can be more knowledgeable to apply that to what I truly want to do, which is bodybuilding. I also, before that, I took a job as a server at a restaurant because at that time, I was honestly very shy and I didn't like to meet new people. And I knew that this was an opportunity to get me out of my comfort zone and to help me develop those skills of learning how to meet new people. Because again, I knew if I ever wanted to be great at anything, I was gonna have to be able to, meet new people frequently. And same thing with speaking in front of crowds of people. I absolutely hated speaking in front of a classroom full of 10 or 20 people. So now that I'm speaking in front of thousands of people at a time, or tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, it took some experience. It took some time to do it over and over again to shake the nerves before, speaking in front of all those people. So I knew if I ever wanted to be great at bodybuilding or anything in life, that these were going to be things that would come in the future. Speaking in front of people, meeting new people, discipline and sacrifice, work ethic. I had to develop that first within myself before I ever could be where I am today.
These are really, it's great advice. Like the idea of struggling to speak to people, then putting yourself in a position to be in food service, that's such a great piece of advice that anybody could take up. But the self-awareness to do that is quite a lot. Did you have like a mentor or somebody who was guiding you along the way?
No, I didn't. If I had any sort of guidance, I would say it would have been from coaches. It would have been maybe from teachers. It would have been, maybe some family members too. But I found a lot of motivation, inspiration, and I guess you could say mentorship from YouTube. I know that sounds crazy, but I would just research and get to know more about people that were exceptional in their fields, similar to what you're doing here with your platform. I would, whether it be Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or any of these greats that were from any other sport or field or endeavor, it's like I wanted to know what made them exceptional, what made them different than everybody else. And if you look across the board at all sports, all endeavors, you'll see that there's something common, something similar, and it's the mindset. It's the way they think. It's like I said, their willingness to sacrifice and be disciplined and work harder than everybody else and raise their standards. So I thought to myself, if I ever want to be the best in the world at something, I'm going to have to be the one that sets the standard. I'm going to have to go over and above what anybody else is willing to do. And like I said, that comes back to being resilient in the face of adversity. Not just when you're being a champion is not winning. That comes after, like I said, a ton of sacrifice, over and over going through things that you'd rather not go through, troubling times, challenging times. Being able to overcome those times is what creates the champion. So the champion isn't just the one who wins in a moment. Anybody can win in a moment. Everybody has a puncher's chance, so to speak. But a true champion is someone who can remain resilient through it all, through the highs and the lows, and just continue on their path and refining themselves to create a new standard for themselves and leading along the way.
Yeah, I think that's missed massively. The day in, the day out for years and years and years and years. That's where it's built. And it's people can show up for a week, a month, even a year. It's not the same turning up for a decade, doing the minute detail. Do you remember the first exposure to somebody's mindset like that? Did anybody stand out at the time? Like you'd seen a video on YouTube or heard from a particular athlete?
I wish I could tell you yes. I'm sure that there is, but gotten so much inspiration and motivation from so many people. And I didn't want to just pick one person and say, I want to be like this guy. It was, I need to figure out how to be the best Derek Lunsford that I can be and what I was called to do. And so I just wanted to find out what the similarities were from all these extraordinary people. And, you know, the definition of extraordinary is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just that extra, right? And so for me, I knew that I had to do more, whether it be put in more work or to sacrifice more, what have you. I just had to do more. And so I looked at guys, like I mentioned, like Kobe Bryant, maybe a Michael Jordan. Again, there's tons and tons of people like a Mike Tyson. You know, and we could talk about business guys too, right? Or any motivational speakers as well. There is, like I said, a similarity to all of them, and I had to find that and figure out what that was. And I'm still searching. I'm still learning. The moment you think that you've got it figured out, you're done. It's a constant journey of refinement and becoming better. So don't think I'm sitting here telling you I got it figured out. I'm still a student.
And you're Mr. Olympia saying that. So if anyone's watching this, you know, that's crazy. Like, I hope people can understand the value in that. Like, we're never done. And yeah, the moment you think that you are done. Like, you're putting a full stop on it for yourself. Yeah, okay. So when did the Olympia dream happen? Like, when did you see, I don't know, was it a post or was it a YouTube video or something like, okay, I want to win that? Like, that must have been like, I don't know, like a scary moment, like a brave moment. I don't know, like, it's because it's such a big, everyone knows the Olympia.
Well, I'll take you back. There was a moment in the gym watching a specific YouTube video, a bodybuilding motivational video, where I saw a compilation of guys like Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, Flex Lewis, some of the greats, Ronnie Coleman. And again, I was so far away from that physique to be able to stand next to a great champion like that on stage. I was so far away from that. But again, I believe that if I continue to stay dedicated and disciplined to this craft, just like I was with wrestling, I believed if I put one foot in front of the other, 1 year at a time, one show at a time, I would eventually get there. And I knew it because with my wrestling background, I didn't start off as the best wrestler. I started off honestly getting my butt whooped in high school wrestling. And by the time I became a senior, I was a pretty solid wrestler, you know, going to college to be an athlete. And I didn't think as a freshman in high school that I would be a college wrestler. But by the time I became a junior, senior, people were looking out to bring me onto their team. And I was wrestling national tournaments and state tournaments and doing very well. So I knew that if I did the same thing with bodybuilding I did wrestling, that the outcome could potentially be the same, because I was losing to guys in wrestling, and by the time that I got good enough to beat that same opponent, they wouldn't beat me again. And I felt that the same thing could apply to bodybuilding, that once I caught you, in terms of I caught up to your physique and I surpassed your physique on stage, then I wouldn't lose to you again. Now, as my track record shows, that hasn't been the case. You know, I have slid back, I've had setbacks, but again, that's a part of the journey. That's a part of learning yourself and understanding life in general too. But something I thought about in the gym just the other day was failure is my friend. And it was the first time that really resonated with me, because you know, people talk about it takes failure to be a great champion, but nobody really wants to lose. Nobody really wants setbacks or failure. But it was the first time the other day in the gym where I was training and I thought to myself, man, if I had not had some of these setbacks or so-called failures, I would not be where I am today. These were such defining moments in not just my career, but my life. It really changed the way I looked at things and the way that I went about my day-to-day and my training and my craft, my discipline. So I thought about it. I was like, failure is my friend. Huh. I'm actually thankful for these setbacks and failures because it propelled me to be better. And if I would have just kept winning and winning and winning and winning and never lose, there's not too much to be learned by that. And so, again, I don't wish for setbacks. I don't wish for losing or failures, but if it happens, I'm not afraid of it. And I think that's freeing, is that I'm just not afraid to fail anymore. I'm not afraid to lose. And that to me makes me more dangerous in my sport or business or anything now than I ever have been, because I'm willing to go all in and just see how great I can be. And I say that as humbly as I can say it. I just mean that I want to seek my fullest potential without the thought of winning and losing. The thought of the outcome is not on my mind anymore. Of course, I'm coming to win. Of course, I want to do great things and accomplish more in my sport. But the idea of, ooh, I don't want to lose and I just want to win is not in my mind anymore. My mindset now is I want to do things that nobody's ever done before. I want to completely change the game, and I want to do things that people told me I can't do, I shouldn't do, it can't be done or won't be done or whatever. I don't want to just prove doubters wrong. I want to develop a vision for my own self that's beyond what anybody else can comprehend or would want to even try to do. And I want to go for it. I want to go all in and do something that's never been done before. Because if I had just kept winning, I would probably have been too scared to lose. And now I'm not afraid to lose. So failure is my friend because it freed me up to be able to go all in and go for something bigger.
I've been getting tons of messages asking about my health protocols ever since I did the world's heaviest marathon. The experience took a toll, and getting back to optimal health has been an absolute journey. That's where Marek Health have been absolutely essential. Their approach is beyond quick fixes. It's about long-term health and performance. They work with medical professionals to create personalized, evidence-based plans tailored to your needs, using pharmaceutical-grade treatments and cutting-edge diagnosis. Whether it's TRT, peptides, supplements, or like me, getting full health analysis to get you back on track, Marek Health provides everything that you need. And it's not just for athletes. If you're an entrepreneur or businessman like me, you might want that renewed focus, clarity, and energy. That's when Marek Health can get your brain performing at its peak. From comprehensive blood work to customized health plans, Marek gives you the tools to optimize your life. If you're ready to take control of your health, go to marekhealth.com and use code Mulligan for 10% off. The link's down below. I can't recommend them enough. And if you just wanted to get started, I would go and get your blood work done. Go get assessed, find out where they can help you. Use the link down below for 10% off using code Mulligan. Let's dive back into the video.
Well, I think this is an interesting mentality shift, and you only see it at the very, very top of somebody who becomes a great. And it's this idea, like they start with, I'm going to prove everyone wrong. It's like almost like a chip on the shoulder, like I've got this fire in my belly, people doubt me. But then now you've reached those heights, it's like you're changing that source of energy or power to something else. When did that moment occur for you?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because that was another freeing moment for me. It was a couple years ago when I realized that, well, let me just say this first of all too. For anybody that knows me, knows I'm very outspoken with my faith. I'm a very strong believer in Jesus. And so I fully committed my life to him in 2020. I was in a bad depression. I didn't want to even be here anymore, if I'm honest with you. I was in a really, really rough spot, about as bad as it could get for me. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to be here, then God, you take control. You have control of my life, and you tell me what you want. If you want me to stop bodybuilding and go in a different direction, then you lead me there. But if you want me to be great in bodybuilding, continue on, then so be it. Like, I'm going to continue to put forth all my efforts to do what I want to do, which is be the best bodybuilder I can be. But if you're taking me away from this, I accept whatever it is that you have for my life. So I fully surrendered my life to God in 2020. And that was an absolutely freeing moment for me. But it also switched the way I thought about that chip on my shoulder. I realized that I needed to forgive those people that had hurt me growing up. Whether they deserved it or not, I needed to forgive them. I needed to love them. And I needed to not do what I'm doing out of like spite, out of that mentality of I'm gonna show you. It was, no. I'm not gonna draw my motivation from negativity anymore. I'm gonna draw my motivation from positivity and realize that, wow, I actually get to do something extraordinary that not many people get to do. I get to do what I love every day, though it's hard, though there's a lot of sacrifice and discipline that goes with it. I truly get to do what I love every day and make a positive impact on the world, or so I hope. And so I realized that going into the gym and releasing that negative energy can be good on occasion, but it can't be what I'm doing it for. I can't go home with this chip on my shoulder and be miserable every day, because frankly, that has a cap or a ceiling on how great that you can be, because you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I realized, wow, like if I'm doing it for those reasons, it can push me to be great and be, to the top, so to speak. I was placing second in the 212 Olympia at the time. But I just knew that it was holding me back from that next level that I was trying to reach. And when I realized that, and I said, wow, I got to draw my motivation from a positive place, it was like that ceiling had just like lifted. And I said, now the sky's the limit. Kind of like what I just mentioned to you was there was another step beyond that I didn't see at the time was, I was still searching to win. I wanted to win and be a world champion in the 212 Olympia. We achieved that, and then I went on to be, like I said, the first two-division Mr. Olympia champion, winning the Open Mr. Olympia, being the 18th Mr. Olympia. And still at that time, I think it was more about winning versus losing than it was just going all in and being all that I can be. I would like to think that my mindset was still somewhat trying to reach my fullest potential. But if I'm honest, a lot of it was, I just wanted to win. I didn't want to lose. And like I said, having that setback the following year was the ultimate freedom. It was not being afraid to go all in and fail. And so each step along the way was so important. I think I needed that chip on my shoulder to get me started. If I had not had that chip on my shoulder, maybe I could have just lived a more lazy and comfortable life, right? So to speak, for me anyway. And so because I had that chip on my shoulder, those things were being said to me. It drove me to go all in for something. And the rest is history, I suppose.
The gap between deciding to be a pro bodybuilder or to take bodybuilding on and getting your pro card, I always find is quite a difficult time period for the pros, especially financially. Like it can be difficult. Is there a moment that stands out that you can remember, or a difficult time period that you was going through in trying to reach pro status?
Yeah, so like I said, you do have to have some sort of crazy delusional belief in yourself that you can make it to the top when you're far away from it. But I looked at it like I was going to college and I was spending money to go to college to get my degree in hopes that I would eventually have a job one day. That was good, that was exceptional. And that's exactly how I looked at bodybuilding. Was my amateur days were preparing me to do the job, so to speak, that I'd always wanted to do. And if you look at, anything in life, like grade school, middle school, high school, college, everything's somewhere between 3 and 5 years to dedicate yourself and to become, next level or exceptional in whatever you're doing. So I thought to myself, okay, if I can dedicate myself for the next 3 to 5 years, invest all the money that I have, because frankly, I was broke. I had no money. There was even a time period where I was sleeping in my car. I was homeless. Yeah, it was pretty rough. And so I just thought to myself, if I keep going, if I commit myself to this, stay disciplined and dedicated, I reinvest everything back into this, one day it'll pay off, just like as if I'm going to go to college. And so that's what I did. And I'm not suggesting that everybody listening to this should, drop out of college and become a bodybuilder, but that's just the way I viewed what I wanted to do. And this being my career was, I wanted to, even though I didn't really have the finances to do it at the time, I was going to commit as if I was going to college or university to become a professional in my field.
Speak to me about a daily routine when you're sleeping in your car.
Well, yeah, so I would typically try to find a parking lot that was available. I can't say that every parking lot allowed me to stay there. There's been times where I got kicked out of parking lots. Maybe like a grocery store, like a Walmart, or like this school. I would stay at like the school or like a gym parking lot or something like that. And I would just sleep there for however long I could rest. And then I would go into the gym and I would typically like shower at the gym. And then kind of just go about my day, like driving around town, or I would still go to work and stuff. I'd work, I'd go to the gym. That's really all I did, was just, I was in my car, I would go to the gym, or I'd go to work, and that was kind of my routine. And I wouldn't say that lasted for years. I would say that was more like weeks or months. Because, my wife that I have now, that was at the beginning of our relationship. So I would go see her at her house too. And so that would kind of be my routine, I suppose. Either gym, work, see my girlfriend, or the rest of the time was spent in my car.
I think it's a great depiction of like some of the levels that you'd have to go to get to that. And I think a lot of people bow out at that point. If you get to the point where you have to sleep in your car, a lot of people are like, yeah, that's me done. I'll go back home, live with a parent or a family member or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know why I had the mindset that I did at the time. I think that I was still struggling with some things that there would be times where I would feel sorry for myself, but I also knew I couldn't just pity myself forever. I had to figure it out. Like, I'm 18, 19, 20 years old. I'm becoming a man on my own. And if I don't have the support or help that I wish that I had, then I don't. I'm gonna have to figure it out. And I always felt like there was somebody else out there that had it worse than me. I never felt like I was worse off than anybody. I might not have been in the best position that somebody else was in, that I would have liked to have been in, but I just knew that if this is where my life is right now, like, it sucks. And again, there's times that maybe I did feel bad for myself during those moments. I think that's normal, it's human. But also I'm like, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna put one foot in front of the other. I'm gonna go all in with this, and if it pans out, great, what a story. If it doesn't, then I can always work another job or do something else. But I'm gonna go for it.
What was the first moment it paid off, where you're like, yeah, at the time you probably thought you'd made it, or it worked out?
I'm laughing because it's been an interesting journey. Because in the beginning, I was a hopeful kid I won my first couple of shows, first few years, and people were telling me that, hey, you could be great at this. So I think right in the beginning, I felt like I could make it. Again, I was so far away from where I am today that looking back, I'm thinking, wow, that you weren't really close to where you thought you was at that time, but maybe that's good though, right? Maybe it was good that I felt like I was a little closer than I really was looking back on it. But if I hadn't had those people within the sport of bodybuilding that had been doing this for so long and been in the sport for so long telling me, hey, you can really be something in this, then I don't know how I would have felt those first few years. But nonetheless, I felt like right away when I did my first few shows, first couple years, they weren't pro qualifying shows. I wasn't earning my pro card, but I felt like I had potential. And though potential doesn't really mean anything unless you seek it to the fullest, I just felt like, okay, like I'm committed. And this is reassurance that I'm gonna make it. And I think whenever I turned pro as Mr. USA, and I got my first supplement contract, that's when I thought, okay, I'm here, I made it. And that same year, I also won my pro debut the week after I won my pro card. And I qualified for the Olympia and placed top 5 in the 212 Olympia. So it was like within less than 2 months, I went from being an amateur to top 5 in the world in my respected division. And so that's when I really felt like, okay, we're here now. And now it's time to be a world champion. Like, I want to be the best.
Could you break down the Olympia in terms of like the 212 Open and like just for somebody who doesn't know?
Yeah, so there's 4 men's divisions in bodybuilding in the Mr. Olympia and IFBB Pro League. We have the first being men's physique. That is the board shorts. And then you have classic physique, which is like a step up from men's physique. It's in between men's physique and open bodybuilding, I would say. It's a height to weight ratio and more of an aesthetic appeal. Not to say that open bodybuilding or 212 isn't aesthetic, because it is, but there's, like I said, a height to weight ratio in the classic division that kind of limits how big you can get. And then the 212 division is any bodybuilder, like an open bodybuilder who can be under 212 pounds, can compete in that division. So same standards as open bodybuilding. The 212 bodybuilding is more for, I would say, shorter bodybuilders. Typically, I would say 5'2" to 5'4" is the most ideal. Me being like 5'6", I was a little bit on the taller end of that division. So I was kind of in the middle of 212 and open. So open is the ultimate title. Like the Mr. Olympia, open bodybuilding Mr. Olympia title is the Mr. Olympia title. So not to get confused, there is only one Mr. Olympia title given each year, and that is to the open bodybuilding division. And so there's no limits to that. There is judging criteria specific for open bodybuilding, similar to the 212, but there is no weight restrictions or any type of restrictions at all. So that is the ultimate title, is the open bodybuilding Mr. Olympia title.
And yeah, so I want to go to the 212s. I've made some notes on this. So yeah, going into the 212s, you said that it was one of the best periods of time for you because you were going up against flex and there was this backwards and forwards and you were forced to grow. I'm curious as what that looks like, because people see bodybuilding as an individual sport, you know, they probably think it's just you versus you, but are you creating a profile of what he's doing? Can you see him training on the other side of the world? Like, how's it work for you mentally?
I absolutely love my competition. I really do. I think there was a time maybe that I was so competitive that I thought differently. But now, when I'm in the gym and I'm training, I know that these guys are giving it their all. And if I didn't have my competition that was pushing me, then I wouldn't be, you know, trying to reach my fullest potential. You need great competition to pull out your best. And so I don't think that Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, who I've mentioned already in this interview, I don't think that they would have been as exceptional as they are or were had they not had great competitors, right? Great athletes that were going up against them. So when I look at like a Flex Lewis, a Samson Dauda, Hadi Chupin, or any of these other guys, you know, I'm thankful for them. They really drive me to be all that I can be. And the days that I'm really grinding and I'm suffering and it's hard, I think about what they're doing. And I think whether or not they're pitying themselves, I don't choose to think like that. I think that they are resilient. They are hungry. They are willing to do whatever it takes to be great. I don't think that they're sitting there sobbing, oh, this is hard. No, they're some of the best in the world, and they're gonna do whatever it takes to be the best. So if I wanna be the best, I have to exceed that. And so for me, they bring the best out of me. So I'm really thankful for my competitors pushing me by pushing themselves. And so for Flex Lewis, it was interesting for me to go up against him because I was such a fan. I was such a fan of him while I was competing next to him. So that one was so weird for me because on one hand, I wanted to be friends with him. I wanted to get to know him and I wanted to be friends with him and I wanted almost like mentorship from him. And on the other hand, we're competitors and he doesn't want to give his title up to some kid that just came along the scene. And so that was an interesting rivalry that he and I had. And, you know, he retired on top. And so it took me a couple years after that to get my 212 Olympia title. But, you know, like I said, now I look at the guys like Samson Dauda, Hadi Chupin, all the other guys. And, you know, I'm just thinking about how great they truly are and how much work that they're putting in. And I like to think that they don't pity themselves. They are hungry. They're savages. And so I have to be the same or more.
I love that. I love that mentality. At 212, like you say, you was caught in like a bit of an awkward place where you're a little bit bigger. What was your walking around weight off season when you were trying to get down to 212? Because some commitment to get down to that weight.
Yeah, I remember being pretty lean at 250 pounds, getting down to the 212. So from 250 pounds lean in the off season, I would cut down to 212. And people asked me, how did you do it? And I said, to be honest, I think that I had to pull out that wrestling mentality of you just make weight, you just don't miss weight, you do it, whatever it takes, you get down there. But when it comes to bodybuilding, it's a different game. It's not wrestling, it's not fighting, it's not any other sport, it's its own individual thing. And I just was never going to seek my fullest potential with a limitation of a weight cap. I was never gonna be my best at 212 pounds. And I was working so hard day in, day out and wanted to be my best, win, lose, or draw, that it really was a no-brainer. Whenever I had the opportunity to go open, I said, okay, like, let's do it. You know, win, lose, or draw, I wanna be my best. And ultimately, everybody, I don't care what people say in any other division or whatever, if they were able to achieve the Mr. Olympia title, the open Mr. Olympia title, that is the ultimate title. And anybody would want to have that. So I don't care what anybody says in any other division. Even when I was in the 212, I never claimed to be Mr. Olympia. I claimed to be the 212 Olympia champion. I knew that the Mr. Olympia was for the open guys, and that's the most prestigious title. So yeah, I was hungry to get that Mr. Olympia title and make history by being the first 2-division champion. But also, if it didn't happen, I could still showcase my best. And that's where I am right now. That's how I feel, is that I'm not afraid to lose. I'm not afraid to do things that, you know, people tell me, don't do that, it's too risky, you know, you should just, you know, wait and compete once a year. No, I wanna do something that is a risk, is a challenge, is gonna make me elevate as a professional, but also as a person.
Is the confusion around the Olympia title, is that a public thing, or is the conversations within, you know, the divisions where people think that open isn't as good as anything else? Because like, to me, like when I see it, all I see is the open, and that's kind of like, yeah. But I know there is some confusion.
Well, bodybuilding started with just bodybuilding, like just open bodybuilding. So when Arnold Schwarzenegger was winning the Mr. Olympia, there was just That was it. That was the Mr. Olympia title, was the open bodybuilding. And so there's only been 19 Mr. Olympia champions ever in the history. And I think maybe there's some confusion because it's the Mr. Olympia weekend with the other categories, the other divisions. And so, like I said, I think everybody wants to be Mr. Olympia, but really there's only one Mr. Olympia each year. And so whether it be confusion and people saying, oh, this guy is Mr. Olympia or that guy's Mr. Olympia when they're not the open Mr. Olympia champion, that's a possibility. Also, you know, if you're on social media and you see a thumbnail, like let's say you're on YouTube, you see a thumbnail of Mr. Olympia, 4-time Mr. Olympia, or 2-time Mr. Olympia, or Mr. Olympia this, that's a lot more clickable than it is to just say I'm the 212 Olympia champion. You know, if I was to say like Mr. Olympia, you know, as a 212 champion. So, you know, it's a prestigious title that everybody wants. It's really no disrespect to the other divisions, because I got to be honest, I love all the other divisions. They're all necessary for our sport to grow and be where it is today. Like, I love to even watch the men's physique guys. You know, watching the Arnold Classic, the guy who won Ali, he looked incredible. The Mr. Olympia champion last year, Ryan Terry, he looked incredible. And I think that division is so necessary for this sport to grow and thrive. The same as Classic. You got the guys like Chris Bumstead, Ramon Dino, you got Urs Kalzinski, Matt Grego, a lot of great classic physique guys that people, young guys aspire to be. We need these divisions, just like the 212. There's a great category for, you know, these guys that want to compete in the 212. So each division plays its key role in our sport and our industry, and you have to respect it all, absolutely. But when it comes down to it, there is one title that everybody wants, and that's the Open Mr. Olympia title.
Just a quick interruption for the video, guys. As many of you know, we are independent creators and filmmakers, but there is a massive attack on us right now. Traditional media over the last few years has started to slowly die. They are no longer the independent voice that you first thought they were. That's why we've created Mulligan Brothers Patreon. We've built something special for our most dedicated supporters, and I want to break it down for you real quick. The supporter tier gets you ad-free early access to both video and audio versions of Mulligan Brothers interviews 24 hours before it goes public. The executive tier gets you everything that a supporter tier gets, plus more. Exclusive interviews and behind the scenes content, walk and talks, daily routines, unreleased interviews, the stuff that you don't see anywhere else. And finally, the executive producer tier. Everything from the supporter tier and the executive tier, plus exclusive perks. Access to our treatment packages. Be the first to see which guests are coming up and get insight into the topics we'll be discussing before anyone else. And you'll even get an executive producer credit on every single documentary that we make. So if you've ever wanted to support the Mulligan Brothers mission of inspiring change so we can go around the world and get these stories that nobody else will, this is exactly how you do it. Go to patreon.com/Mulligan Brothers or click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Join the community and help us inspire change. Let's dive back into the video.
Okay, so you win the 212 Olympia, you know, huge moment for you, and the smart decision would be to go back, defend your title, you know, and probably have a clean sheet again, and then you decide to open. Like, first of all, what was the public sort of opinion of that at the time? Like, what were people saying?
I think most people thought I should stay 212 at the time and didn't believe that I could compete, especially within 1 year from 212 to open. Once again, I had a crazy belief in myself that, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna come compete with the best. And realistically, that first year, I thought if I bring my best from the 212 the previous year to open debut, I thought that I could truly be within that top 3 call out. I landed in second place, but I truly believed that top 3 was where I would land. And I think most people was not expecting that, which is fair. Used to, maybe it would have bothered me a little bit more if people doubted what I'm capable of. But now I see it like that's more of a realistic expectation. But that's what I was saying. It excites me that I want to have these expectations that are unrealistic for myself. And like, that's what drives me every day is I want to do something that's, that people are like, nah, he can't do that. That's too far-fetched. That excites me. So I think it's a fair assessment that there was a lot of people doubting, but I think once I showed up, people said, "Oh, this is different. This is not what we're used to." So, and I think that moment was one of the coolest moments in my bodybuilding journey, my bodybuilding career, was when I walked out on that stage for the first time in the open at the Mr. Olympia. You could literally hear the air in the room get sucked out. Everybody went, and then, like, you could feel the energy in the air just like getting sucked out of the room, and it was just silent. And then I remember when I turned to the back, the crowd just went crazy for the back shots. And I walked off stage and I remember I went, yeah, I think that went pretty well. So that was probably one of the coolest moments in my bodybuilding career and journey, was just being able to be on stage and captivating the audience all at one time. And it reminded me of, you know, a guy who inspired me, Jay Cutler, when he did that quad stomp in 2009 and the place went crazy. I felt like that was my moment at that time, and it was a very special and very cool moment that I'll never forget, for sure.
Okay, so you know, you put your time in. You're finally at the moment where you're ready. You've been on stage. You know, it's down to the final two. They're about to call the winner. You hear your name. What's that moment like?
It was history. In that moment, history was made. I was the first 2-division Olympia champion and the 18th Mr. Olympia of all time. And also, I don't want to skip over receiving the People's Champion Award that same night. And so I knew if my name was called that this was very monumental in bodybuilding history. And the fact that after it was all said and done, I don't know if anybody had left the room. Everybody had come, rushed the stage, and just stayed there for, I don't know how long, it felt like forever. And just the cheers and the praise and the positive energy in the room was just so awesome. Like it just felt like I had so much support from so many people, and all in this monumental moment. Like I was in shock. I don't want to say in disbelief, because I realized, wow, my name was called, and this is history that was just made, and this is a huge moment in my life and career too. But also at the same time, I was thinking, what just happened? You know, it's almost like, is this really real? So on one hand, I realized, wow, this is incredible, and I need to try to take this all in as much as I can right now, because, you know, in these moments, it does happen pretty fast. Like, your name's called, the praise, the cheers, and you get some pictures, and then, you know, before you know it, the night's over with. But so I was trying to take in every moment that I possibly could, but at the same time, I felt like I was in shock. I remember different parts of that night and that moment, and the greatest was, you know, having my wife on stage who was pregnant, kissing her belly, and then the crowd that was just super supportive. Like I remember that, and it was one of the best moments of my life.
For me, there's always like a bit of even I well up a little bit when I think of the idea of, your wife's been there, you know, she's been through the career, seen the real low moments and the down moments. When you get that quiet moment later on in the hotel, you know, you both sat there thinking it was all worth it. What was that like?
Well, I remember that, well, I don't really get much sleep the weekends of these shows, whether it's adrenaline or what. So after a couple hours of snoozing, I remember I woke up and she was laying in bed. She was still asleep. And I started praying, you know, and I started asking God, like, why me? Like, why did you choose me to do this? And why did you bless me with this outcome? Because at the end of the day, the outcome is not in my control. My obedience to God and my work ethic and my discipline and sacrifice is up to me, but the outcome is not. And that's what I realize now. So I just prayed, I was like, God, why me? And he said, if not you, then who? And I was like, wow, okay. Because I'm thinking to myself, like, why do you choose me? Why do you bless me so much? Like, why did you give this all to me? But also, like, you gave me a career, a life that is not easy also. People will probably watch this and see me and go, wow, I wish I could be him. And it's like, yeah, you wish you could win, and you wish you could have all the nice things that come with it. But, you know, really, like you said, only my wife and the few people around me really, truly see the sacrifices that it takes. And it's this, I'm going to tell you this right now, being a world champion, being a Mr. Olympia is actually not for everybody. Bodybuilding can be for everybody, but being the best in this sport, I don't think is for everybody, because not only is it extremely difficult physically, mentally, and it takes a strain on everybody around you. So you need that support. But also you have to realize that you're a role model and a leader, and people are looking at you now. And everything that you say, that you do, the way you carry yourself has an impact, for better or for worse. So I just don't think that being a leader is actually for everybody. And if you're the Mr. Olympia, you're leading. And so that's why I said, I prayed to God. I said, you know, I was like, why me? Like, why do you give me something that's so hard, like a lifestyle that's so hard, so strenuous on me and my loved ones? But also, like, why do you bless me to get, like, I get to do what I love, but you've given me so much in all of this too. And he said, if not you, then who? And I said, okay. And I'm crying, like I'm crying in bed. And I said, so now what? What is this making me? Because I don't want this to take me away from you, God. And he said, it was almost like this feeling of like, good, you're humbling yourself. I don't need to humble you, because you're humbling yourself, because you don't want this to take away from our relationship. So now I'm going to call you to higher heights. Imagine, I literally just a few hours ago won the Mr. Olympia, becoming the 18th Mr. Olympia of all time, making history, all of that. And now he's telling me I'm calling you to higher heights. What does that even mean? I thought this was the pinnacle. Like, what? And I still don't know if I fully understand what that means. I think I'm still on this journey of going in that direction, but I feel it. I believe it. I believe I am going to higher heights, whatever that means, whatever that is. And like I said, that setback the following year, to me, was a setup, because it freed me to be okay with failure and to go bigger and to go for higher heights. So now I'm on that journey of continuing on. But after winning, I had to spend some alone time with God and pray and thank him and ask him what was next. And with my wife, you know, we have Christ in our marriage. And so we both feel the same way, as I was just explaining. And so we just give thanks every day. We're just grateful. We just have to remain grateful for everything, even when the times are hard. And like I said, it's putting a strain on our marriage, because, you know, we're also business owners too. We own this gym, and we're doing a lot of different things. I have sponsorship obligations and a lot of traveling that I do. It takes me away from family time. But nonetheless, you know, like, my family is super supportive, and we're just very thankful and grateful for this life, to be honest.
What's that shift been like? You know, everybody loves the underdog story. You know, you've done something that has proven so many people wrong, proven yourself right. People have invested that, they've loved that. But then you find yourself at the top of the sport. You're no longer the underdog. You know, you're the guy. What was the shift like getting there?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because everybody feels that they're ready, but when it happens, it's different. You're like, okay, like I am the champion now. I am Mr. Olympia. And I think it takes a little time to actually understand that. I don't think you can just understand it in a night or in a week or in a month. I think obviously you have to be a champion before you become a champion. However, when you become a champion in terms of winning that title, I think there is a time that it takes to process. And I would like to think that's pretty much for everyone, because the guys that came before me would explain that to me. Namely, Flex Lewis, he would tell me, he's like, you're not gonna understand for a while, but there's gonna be a moment that hits you that makes you realize like you're the best in the world. And so I think for me, it took me a few months. It took me a few months to realize that I was Mr. Olympia, that this really was like monumental. But once again, I think I needed that setback last year of first place to third place for me to actually step up and say, no. My best, if I bring my best to the stage, my best is the best. And after I won the Arnold Classic just recently, that's when I realized like, no, like what's within me, my characteristics of being resilient and disciplined and willing to sacrifice no matter what it takes, that's what makes me the best in the world, not just winning and the physique. The physique, it's a physique competition, but I think that this is what makes you a champion and the best at what you do, and not just the outward appearance.
Just last few ones here. So now what? You know, that's my question to anyone who we catch at the top. You know, like you, and we're here now, but how do you set your sights further than this?
Well, this year, I have had a great start to the year, winning the Arnold Classic title. A lot of people told me not to do it. The greats that came before me said, don't do it, just wait till the Olympia. So there's been very few people who have won the Arnold Classic and the Olympia in the same year in the open bodybuilding division. So that in itself would be historical to do that. However, there's a new show, the Pittsburgh Pro. This is their first show, or first time that they're having an open bodybuilding show and an expo. And so I thought to myself, I want to raise the stakes. I think that this show is going to be a legacy show, that's what I like to call it, a legacy show, to where this year and for years to come, the Pittsburgh Pro title, I believe, is going to be a very prestigious title. So not only do I want to have that title and be the first ever to do it, but I don't think that there's ever been anyone that's ever won the 3 biggest shows of the year all in the same year. So for several reasons, it would be very historical and monumental to win these 3 shows this year. So I'm now preparing for the Pittsburgh Pro, and then I will end my year at the Mr. Olympia. And if all goes well, we're gonna make history and get that title back.
It's interesting that when we spoke to Samson, his was to win 2 shows in a year would be, you know, so it's interesting.
I want to win 3 shows.
3 shows, okay.
The 3 biggest shows.
The 3 biggest shows. I mean, that's crazy. Okay.
With all, there will be all of the top 5, potentially even the top 10 guys will be at these 2 shows before the Olympia. Some of them were at the Arnold. The rest of them will be at the Pittsburgh Pro, and there's only one person who did not or will not be doing either one of those shows that I will see at the Olympia. So winning those first 2 shows kind of solidifies that you are the best in the world, but you do have to bring it to the Mr. Olympia stage because that's when it matters. So that's what I like to do. I like to win the 3 biggest shows of the year.
Okay, and then talk to us about the details of commitment that people don't see. You know, the diet, the cardio, the waking up at whatever time it is, and now you have a family as well. Like all these things, like how minute does it get, and how much more is it than people realize?
Oh my gosh, this should have been the first question because this could last forever. Your whole life is revolved around this, and I cannot do this alone. There is a full team behind me that has helped me get to where I am. I'm the guy that's on the stage. I'm the guy that's doing the cardio, doing the diet, and doing the training and all of this. However, if I don't have the support of my wife and family, if I don't have the support of my training partners and friends around me, and I don't have my coach guiding me into the show, then I will not be my best, and likely I will not win, right? And be where I am today. So it takes a full team to support you, for you to be your ultimate best and to be, in my opinion, Mr. Olympia. So, yeah, as I mentioned, you got the cardio, you have the diet, you have the training, you have all of that. Plus, again, we're business owners and we are opening this gym. We have sponsorship obligations that take our time. We have traveling events all around the world that we do to support bodybuilding and build this industry and community up. All the while trying to find that balance of spending time with my wife and daughter and the rest of my family and friends. And then of course you have to understand that you need a little alone time and personal time too. So that balance is something that I think comes with time. And there's a time where there is no balance. There's a time where you just have to go completely all in, and there's not going to be friends and family time. There's not going to be alone time. It's going to be hustle and grind. This is grind season. And if I did not have the support of my wife first, I would not do this. But she's fully supportive. We have, though again, it's difficult. We have a great life because I'm able to see my wife and daughter every day. We don't have to drop off my daughter to like a daycare. We get to spend all day with her, which is amazing. That's the biggest blessing for me. What makes it the most difficult, and I like to kind of break down the process of the preparation to a show kind of like this. When you're first starting out and you have a little higher body fat and maybe you're less experienced in competing, the first hurdle you have to get over is, oh my gosh, I don't have the time to go do fun things on the weekend. I don't have time or the ability to go out to dinner because I'm on my diet. And then it becomes, oh wow, like I miss these tasty foods. Like I'm craving a pizza, I'm craving a burger, I'm craving this. And you have to restrict yourself from having those delicious tasting foods. So your cravings, start to mess with your mind. The lack of time spent with friends and loved ones, can be hard. And then it gets to the point where you're really, really hungry that you don't mind. It's okay, I've given up those tasty foods. I just want to have more food because I'm so hungry. Like, just give me more of this diet food. And then it goes from that to, wow, I really have no energy. Like, I don't care what I have to eat. I just would like to have a little bit more energy to have a little bit more life in me, So that's the kind of the way I break down the process of getting ready for a show, is that at first it's just giving up time and some of the fun stuff in life. And then it becomes, okay, wow, I'm really starving and it's hard because I would like to be able to eat more food. And then at the end, it's like, wow, I have no energy to do anything because, you're trying to get as shredded as possible. All your energy reserves in your body are gone, right? And you're barely feeding yourself enough food, just enough to go train and keep the muscles full and volumized and strong. So this is an interesting sport. It's an interesting thing. A lot of science, a lot of nutrition goes into this, but yeah, it's something you have to really be passionate about, because if you don't have this burning desire within you, if you don't really love to be in the gym and train and love bodybuilding and sculpting your physique, then this might not be for you, because it does really take a toll on you personally, but you have to understand that it takes a massive toll on the people around you too.
I mean, yeah, you're torturing yourself towards those final weeks. Like it's insane. So the final question I just wanted to ask was, when you're in those moments and maybe you're at the end of prep and it's really, really difficult, how do you switch the mindset on when you get into the gym, and what is the mindset? Because we're sat here right now, you're a really calm, nice person, but I'm sure that something has to come out of you to get through some of those sessions.
I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but I have to be honest, this is how I feel. I want to be the greatest. I want to be the greatest that I can possibly be. And I don't want, when I retire, to have any regrets. I don't see myself retiring anytime soon. I want to be doing this for quite some time. But I want to know that every day I gave it my absolute everything. So if I'm suffering, good. I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to be the one doing the things that other people aren't willing to do. Again, I thrive off that. I get excited about that. It's not something that I necessarily want to do all the time or forever, but it's what I've signed up for. It's what I chose to do. And so for me, like I said, I don't want to get to the end of this and think, man, I could have gave more. I could have went a little harder. I could have been a little bit better if I would have just sucked it up during that moment. Because frankly, the window of opportunity is so short. First of all, the window of life is short. To do whatever it is that you're going to do in this world is so limited, so short. And then the opportunity to do what it is that you're good at and what you're called to do is even shorter. So I only have a small window of opportunity to give my absolute everything to this. And I expect nothing less for myself. I will give my absolute everything. And whatever comes of it, the outcome is not in my control. But what is in my control, I'm going to give everything to.
I love that mentality. And I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. We have a Patreon community who supports us to do this. I always give them the last question. And this one's a really interesting one to me, because you seem like such a nice guy. Meeting Samson, he was like a really friendly guy as well. And you guys are, obviously giants. Probably not your typical perception of what the most jacked people on earth would be like. Super friendly. So Patreon members want to know who's the friendliest, and I don't. Can you get on with your competition in that way?
Of course, man. You have to. We're brothers in iron at the end of the day. We all are passionate about the same thing, and this is a you versus you journey, right? And so, like I said, you can have the competitive mindset of not liking your competition because they're your competition, or you can say, look, I'm thankful for my competition because they're great and they're making me better. And really, I look at them as, yeah, like we're competitors, but also we're colleagues in a sense too. So I know, once again, that this is a window of opportunity in our life that we get to do this, and then one day it's done and we'll be retired, and then what? What are you gonna hate your competition for the rest of your life? Or are you gonna, I guess not everybody has to be friends, but are you gonna look back on those moments and be like, wow, that was really great times that we battled on the Arnold stage or the Olympia stage or whatever, Pittsburgh Pro stage? Like, for me, I think of bodybuilding after competing too. I think of life after competing. So I like to build, good relationships within our community, within our sport. Not everybody can you get along with, but I don't know if I could pick who's the friendliest guy. I think there's a lot of actually really nice competitors, whether they're in the top 5 or not. There's a lot of really nice, down-to-earth IFBB pros in all divisions, to be honest. I think it's a little easier to pick out the ones that aren't than the ones that are, if I'm honest. So
I won't ask you that one.
No, don't ask me that one. But no, I love our community. Our community is unique because unlike other sports, you actually get to be involved with the fans and with one another. Whereas, like I said, other sports, you just don't get that too much. You know, we're traveling a lot, me, Samson, all these other guys, we're traveling a lot to build our community. And I want to bring a lot of people here to Tampa, to my gym here. And, you know, I want to see other people be great too. You know, that really excites me, to be able to see other people doing what I'm doing and go be great at it as well, and seek their fullest potential. So whether they're my competitors or not, I just try to get along with everybody. But yeah, appreciate it. And also thank you for your time and for the platform that you have. I think is great. You're able to interview some really extraordinary people, really interesting people. And you know, I'm a fan of your work, and I appreciate your time and everything.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much for your time, man. And we'll wrap it up there.
Awesome.
That's fantastic,
Thank
man.
you.